urgent, precise tone. The People's Liberation Army is actively building the capacity to execute kinetic strikes up to 2,000 nautical miles from the Chinese mainland. This expansion into the Pacific is driven by Beijing's three non-negotiable core interests: maintaining the Chinese Communist Party's domestic control, securing economic development, and expanding its territorial and sovereignty claims. To secure these interests, the military has a strict mandate. By 2027, the PLA must be capable of achieving a strategic, decisive victory against what it refers to as the strong enemy, the United States. That same 2027 deadline requires the PLA to achieve strategic counterbalance and strategic deterrence and control. In practice, this means building the capacity to limit horizontal escalation and deny U.S. and allied military intervention in the region. Projecting lethal force 2,000 miles out depends on a highly specific operational framework to guide and coordinate these long-range systems. The PLA calls this core operational concept multi-domain precision warfare. This concept relies on instantly aggregating military power across land, sea, air, space, and cyber domains. The goal is to rapidly process vast amounts of data to identify and exploit weak points in the U.S. operational system. Executing this kind of synchronized warfare relies entirely on the PLA's command, control, communications, computers, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, or C4ISR, architecture. Historically, the PLA's primary strategic focus was the first island chain, from Japan down to the Malay Peninsula. But mapping a 1,500 to 2,000 nautical mile strike radius extends well into the second island chain, directly threatening U.S. regional presence. The integrated C4ISR kill chain represents the primary threat, serving as the connective tissue that guides individual weapons to their targets across the Pacific. Underpinning this technological expansion is a shift in China's military strategic guidelines, the top-level directives dictating how the armed forces prepare for conflict. Beijing assesses its external security environment as increasingly unstable, explicitly viewing U.S. defense strategies and regional partnerships as direct constraints on China's development. In response, the PLA focuses on effective control and war control. This directs the military to use all domains of national power to dictate the timing, pace, and scale of escalation from peacetime through crisis. This approach culminates in a new defining operational doctrine: national total war. In the PLA's framing, this implies the complete mobilization and integration of a nation's civilian and military resources to resist a militarily superior adversary. Under this doctrine, future conflict is viewed as a single, unified effort that seamlessly combines gray zone coercion, hybrid tactics, and high-end conventional warfare. At the strategic level, this shifts the PLA away from passive border defense. The military is now directed to actively build a forward posture to shape the security environment around China's periphery. This aligns with their concept of active defense, a strategy that combines strategic defense with highly offense at the operational and tactical levels. By accepting the use of long-range precision threshold for multi-domain escalatory leadership, the strategic support force was completely dissolved. The newly established Aerospace Force, Cyberspace Force, and Information Support Force now report directly to the Central Military Commission amidst sweeping corruption investigations of high-ranking figures. Despite leadership turbulence, the military is aggressively pushing readiness. They use professional blue forces, units designed to precisely mimic U.S. tactics, equipment, and doctrine to test their own units in wargames. These organizational reforms and realistic training scenarios are engineered specifically to meet the technical demands of multi-domain precision warfare. Dismantling the rigid strategic support force removes these bureaucratic bottlenecks. By placing critical information domains directly under the CMC, the PLA can theoretically close long-range kill chains much faster during a crisis. That highly accelerated decision-making process relies entirely on the vast amounts of targeting data flowing directly into the Information Support Force from orbit. As of 2024, China's intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance fleet contains more than 500 capable satellites, tripling its on-orbit presence since 2018. Constellations like the Jilin-1 network provide persistent imaging and automated detection, allowing the military to continuously track mobile targets on the Earth's surface.
To maintain this network, China is rapidly expanding its launch infrastructure, successfully testing reusable rockets and sea-based platforms to lower costs and increase deployment speed. But collecting data is only half the problem. The PLA needs highly resilient satellite communications to transmit that targeting data back to its shooters in real time. To solve this, China is deploying proliferated low Earth orbit megaconstellations like the G60 Starlink. If an anti-satellite weapon disables a node, data routes through surviving nodes. This persistent, redundant coverage allows the PLA to track U.S. forces across the Pacific. This PLEO network moves the PLA's stace posture away from vulnerable, isolated sensors and toward a resilient, real-time targeting web. While the orbital web tracks physical targets, the cyber domain is tasked with degrading the adversary's ability to respond. The newly elevated cyberspace force retains direct responsibility for network warfare, electronic warfare, and psychological operations. These operations have evolved far beyond traditional intellectual property theft. State-sponsored actors are actively conducting battlefield preparation. Their primary tactic involves burrowing into foreign civilian networks and pre-positioning cyber attack capabilities where they can lie dormant until needed. Recent campaigns, publicly identified as Volt Typhoon and Salt Typhoon, have successfully infiltrated U.S. critical infrastructure and major telecommunications providers. To evade detection, these operations mask their origins by routing traffic through massive networks of compromised consumer internet devices, like home office routers. The tactical objective is clear. In the event of a conflict, these access points can be used to execute disruptive attacks on logistics nodes and power grids, inducing societal panic and severely delaying military deployments. The PLA calculates that these capabilities are especially effective against militarily superior adversaries who rely heavily on interconnected information systems. The intent is to use cyberspace to physically paralyze U.S. military mobilization during the critical opening hours of a regional crisis. We are already seeing the PLA test this integrated kill chain in the real world, most notably during the Joint Sword 2024 exercises surrounding Taiwan. During these drills, the Eastern Theater Command's Joint Operations Command Center successfully demonstrated multi-domain collaboration, linking disparate assets under a centralized command. A critical development was the direct integration of China Coast Guard vessels, seen here firing a water cannon, into the military exercise to enforce blockades and conduct aggressive maritime patrols. This coordination proves the mechanics of the national total war concept, blending civilian law enforcement resources seamlessly into military operational objectives. These military actions run parallel to a shift in political rhetoric. In official 2024 and 2025 reports, Beijing deliberately omitted its standard phrasing regarding peaceful unification. The objective has shifted. Beijing is now actively attempting to compel unification through an integrated, coercive pressure campaign, rather than simply deterring formal independence. This timeline is governed by a three-step strategy: accelerate modernization by 2027, basically complete it by 2035, and field a fully world-class military by 2049. When viewed together, the threat model becomes clear. An AI-driven C4ISR architecture, a streamlined command structure, a proliferated orbital web, and pre-positioned cyber strikes all operate as a single unified system. The immediate 2027 goal of this apparatus is strategic counterbalance, building a deterrent strong enough to make U.S. intervention in the region too costly to attempt. The PLA is engineering a holistic system designed to dictate the outcome of a Pacific conflict, effectively deciding the war before the first kinetic shot is fired.